Hi everyone. Today let's talk about Michael Burry shorting the market yet again. Then we'll get into the economic data. Then we'll look at the charts, as well as my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So Michael Burry bought a lot of short options on the SPY as well as the NASDAQ. And you can see that here in terms of notional value, $739 million against the QQQ and $886 million against the SPY. So around $1.5 billion in short shares in terms of notional value because he did buy puts for this position. Of course, we don't know what the strikes are or what the expiration date is. Those are not required for the regulatory filing, but he did buy a lot of short puts, and he's obviously looking for the markets to go lower. Moving over to the economic calendar for tomorrow, don't forget retail sales at 8:30 Eastern. That's going to be a big one in my opinion. At this point, I think good news is good news as we've seen inflation continue to go lower. We need to see the American consumer to continue to remain strong. We talked about how credit is at all-time highs, and obviously that is unsustainable. So the question is, how much longer can the retail consumer continue to spend and prop up these numbers? Expectations is minus 0.3% on the core number, and then headline expected to be 0.4%. And I do think that's going to affect markets quite strongly tomorrow. Moving over to the Friday OPEX, you can see 440 still being a high number of puts. Call wall sitting at 450. Right in this range makes sense. We are pretty high in that range already, up at 448 with the rally that we saw today. Put call ratio still very high at 2.3. Options getting close to that 3 million unit mark. So clearly lots of options interested in this third week OPEX. And it does seem like a tight range is what we're going to end up getting at the Friday expiration. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps on the hour and the 4 hour. You can see we had basically a flat day on Friday. We were looking for that rally today, and that's what we ended up getting. You can see that here on the 4 hour, this downtrend line did break with that rally. 448.74, interesting horizontal level. You can see that dip low that we had in July, marking that level before we rallied up. And that's basically where we paused here today. You can also see that 144 EMA on the hourly chart. That's that longer term downtrend line. Last time we hit that, we had a big move lower. So clearly an interesting area. If it breaks, however, we have the 55 EMA sitting up at 450.97. That would be a nice little rally from current levels. Remember, Max Payne is looking for the end price at the end of the Friday session, so we could absolutely go above 450, touch some higher levels, and then reject down into that zone. And right now, everything does look a little bit bullish, even though we're getting into some key resistance areas. Moving over to the NASDAQ, you can see here we had that double bottom that we were trading off of, broke this level, rallied up to the next one. Fairly expected. Did get a little bit choppy in the middle of the session, held fairly strongly, and then big rally into the end of the day. You can see I have a level here at 371.25. That's what I'm going to be watching for tomorrow's session. Again, 144 EMA sitting right above that, 171.83. Again, on the 4 hour chart, broke the downtrend line, got above some of the shorter term EMAs and SMAs. You got the 144 sitting at 373.08, and then the 55 at 374.97. And it would not surprise me if we got back into that zone with a change of trend coming off of this double bottom. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell moved lower, hit the 200 SMA, and then bounced from that level. Ended up being slightly negative on the day after looking very negative early in the session. So clearly an interesting level, 189, hit that level as well, over through the 200. And then we're holding at 190.61, just above that level. Still a technical downtrend, still holding in this zone. Doesn't quite look as strong as the other ones, but it looks okay. Dow, on the other hand, continues to hold in this range, not doing much of anything. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, you can see Apple moved down, held in this zone, starting to rally out of that range a little bit. Has not quite broken out, but the momentum is bullish. RSI still moving higher. Could absolutely hit this 50 line on RSI and then break down from there. That would be interesting. This is still an overall downtrend, so I wouldn't expect this to break out massively to these previous highs, but it was due for a little bit of a retrace after this bigger down move. Tesla, on the other hand, not doing much of anything, continues to grind lower, very close to my price target, got all the way down to 233.75. My price target was 232.84, so within $1 of that point. You could certainly argue that it hit the price target, but I would expect it to continue to actually hit that level over the next day or two. Moving over to Microsoft and NVIDIA, you can see Microsoft has been grinding down. It did move just barely above the 21 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. After hours, paused there during the session, but after hours rallying a little bit. Definitely interesting. Could absolutely throw a wick and then move down tomorrow, but it's a little bit more bullish now. NVIDIA, on the other hand, this was the big crazy mover for the day. You can see we wicked 405.30, hit that level just for a moment, and then rallied up another 10% or so. What an absolute bull. There was some news about them leaking some GPUs, and then they have earnings this week. I believe it's on the 16th, so Wednesday this week, expecting NVIDIA earnings. Last time we got their earnings, they were massive, and NVIDIA went much, much higher. So a very big driver for markets here recently. Moving over to consumer staples. Staples broke down, tested these trend lines. So we got below the 144 on the 4-hour. Didn't quite hit the 200, but bearish momentum. This looks a little bit weaker now. It had been holding, so we were neutral, but this breakdown and hold looks more weak. Again, you could trade off the trend line. Definitely an interesting level, but bearish momentum. Discretionary, on the other hand, went sideways, slightly bullish at the end of the day, momentum ticking towards bullish. I think this is going to be largely dependent on retail sales tomorrow. If the consumer is still strong, we should see this pop up a little bit. If not, I would expect this to drop all the way down to 166 tomorrow. Moving over to breadth, we still got a bearish candle on both charts. 200 actually looking more bearish in this case. You can see that big red candle. 50 still holding at that 52.82 level. And we can see that here, wicked that level finally, starting to hold in that zone, momentum turning slightly, which could be the early signs of a little bit of a bottoming formation. 200 SMA still moving lower, 50 starting to bottom out at that level. Moving over to yields, you can see yields are continuing higher. Everything looks like these are going higher. Another bullish candle. 10-year looking to take out these highs on a closing basis. 2-year, we had a low, higher low setup off the 55. Took out this midpoint here, and it looks more bullish today than it did before. Moving over to the dollar on the 4-hour and the daily, another bullish day. Big wick on that 8 o'clock candle on the 4-hour, but then we ended up hitting the 9 EMA and rallied a little bit more. You can see we hit the 200 SMA on the daily chart. Absolutely an important level. Got above my 102.98 level as well, so we're above that. Looking for 103.64, very close to that. 200 is obviously going to determine if we can hold this rally. And zooming out here a little bit on the daily chart, you can see we haven't tested that 200 SMA for a long time. We pushed right through it on this down move back in December. We've been below it, so this is still a technical downtrend on the daily chart because of that 200 SMA. But if this level breaks and we get above it and we're above all of the EMAs and SMAs, that could definitely spell some weakness for equities. It's already a little bit weird that we had equities go up a little bit today. We had yields going higher, and we also had the dollar going higher all at the same time. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK still holding above the 200. Slightly bullish day, not giving us a ton of information. It is still below that trend line. TLT holding right at these lows. It didn't take out this previous low today, which is interesting, but it was still a bearish day. And as the yields continue to go higher, we'll continue to see TLT going lower. Moving over to the volatility indices, move index rallying. You can see this kind of wedge shape that I drew out here. We're still making lower highs, so volatility is still coming out of the markets. If this breaks here, that could be interesting. We're not really that close to it yet, but it's something to watch. VIX, on the other hand, gapped up, fell right into that same zone. This uptrend line that I was watching, still intact, definitely interesting, but not a lot of movement here today, and momentum is moving lower. We're right at the 50 line. Again, if it's going to hold and pop up, you need it to do it now. Otherwise, we need to break this trend line, get back into this range, and potentially move lower, allowing equities to gain a little bit of strength. Moving over to my accounts, I did okay. I got stopped out on this put position on the IWM. I put it back on at 190, which ended up expiring worthless here today. And then I put another one on for Wednesday at 190 for 69 cents. We'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, on the Qs, I quickly flipped to bullish early in the session. My only mistake here is that I meant to sell 2 of these 367s, and I only sold 1 of them, so that hurt me pretty badly. That would have been another $220 profit, would have been a nice little gain there. You can see I have some covered calls. You can see minus $258 on the calls, but really my break even here is $370.15 based on that trade credit. So as long as we hold above that level, I should make at least $250 more on these shares. That would be awesome. And then I did sell some 369 puts, 2 of those for tomorrow, 92 cents each on those, and those are a small profit already. So looking for another about $180 profit on that position as long as we can maintain a little bit of bullishness. Overall, not bad trading. Followed my rules. Everything was pretty clean, except for that one 367 position, which I meant to sell 2 puts and only sold the 1. Overall, for both markets, looking for a little bit more bullishness in tomorrow's session. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of Michael Burry's position. He is typically a very good investor, and he is not wrong super often if you look back at his trading history, so it's definitely something to account for. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.